Successful Minds with Patricia Barnowski-Schneider, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Successful Minds with Patricia Barnowski-Schneider is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Patricia Barnowski-Schneider.
Hello, and welcome back to Successful Minds. I'm your host, Patty Baranowski-Schneider. Today, I'm joined by Latoya Stewart, LCSW-C founder. This goes out to you, LLC. She has lots going on, so I'm going to leave it to her to tell you about it. So welcome, Latoya. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, yes. So I am a licensed clinical social worker. As you said, I am a private practice owner for a private practice in Baltimore, Maryland, where I serve adults over the age of 17 plus. We service men and women. However, our niche is geared towards women of color and helping them become their highest selves. Yes.
Very nice.
Offer individual, couples, groups, and we offer mindfulness groups monthly. We just actually had one this past weekend.
Wow.
It's open to the community as well as current client base.
Nice. I know so many people, it's nice when it's offered, because going back years ago, it was like taboo to ever need this sort of stuff. And now people are acting out and people are saying, hey, you're not alone. We're all in this. So let me help you. And, definitely needed.
Yes, absolutely. I love that mental health it seems more reachable. It seems like there's more options, and we're all rallying together to find out more creative ways to care for self.
Right. And I love that most people, people would never talk about it because it just didn't look at it. Now people are like I've done podcasts with people where, they were either trying to commit suicide or, they were institutionalized, whatever the case may be. And they're just like, now they want to come back and give back and help people. But it's just refreshing because, it takes a big backbone. Like I actually did a book called Life's Obstacles Can Be Your Biggest Motivators. And it wasn't that I wanted to air out my dirty laundry. It was talking about a lot of the crap that I dealt with. But I wanted people to know that, one, you're not alone. Because people always look at somebody and they judge a book by its cover. And it's like, you have no idea what everybody's going through. That's why I love when people will say, like, just smile at somebody because you have no idea how much that could make that person's day. And it's like, you don't know. So that's awesome. So good for you.
Kindness. I love that. Yes.
Yeah. Now, Latoya, can you share with us your journey towards becoming a clinically licensed social worker and what motivated you to enter this field?
Yes, absolutely. So I like to think about my journey as progressive. Okay. I'm not going to pretend that I felt the same way I do clinically as I do in this moment when I started off. And so I like to go all the way back into my high school years because I was able to connect with my aunt, who's also a social worker, who lived in Atlanta at the time. And I was able to, during one of my summer breaks, I was able to go to social work PRN. It's closer now to me, but then I drove all the way from Baltimore, Maryland to another part of Maryland.
Wow. Dedicated. Good.
But I wanted to know more about the field. And I'm sure I didn't learn everything at that one time, right? But it was a door. And later on in life, when it was time for me to consider going to college, I went to a college prep school, Baltimore City Community College. Not Baltimore City College, and there's a rivalry called Poly, and it's a college prep school, so we absolutely had to go to college. And so Morgan State University was where I went to college. It's at HBCU, and I'm a big advocate for HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, and it was so diverse there, and everyone was so intelligent, and it just opened up a world for me that I don't think that I had access to I'm not sure why, but I didn't feel the same way about it, right? And so I was able to go there, and you say you want to enter into the field of social work and the school of social work, but you don't enter into it immediately, right? You have to go through a chain of expectations so you can understand how important this work is.
Okay.
Managing people is a big deal. And And so I was able to have some internships around advocacy, and I really learned the importance of just legislatively how it affects nonprofit agencies, and that and how important a community is, and really connecting so you can make sure that you can continue to provide the supports and services and resources to a particular population that you may want to provide support to, and you care about. And so that was huge for me. And then I was able to, because of that experience, be able to connect to child welfare. Right. I was able, specifically, independent living. And so as a new professional, these youth are a few years older than me. And so you learn really quickly how to ground. Right. And how to check yourself. And it was so great with the fundamental building of the work and skill set that I have. I then was able to connect with forensic social work and really work towards preventing recidivism. Right. I was able to work at a prestigious hospital in Baltimore, Maryland, that really shaped my skill set there. Right. Where I was able to work in psychiatry, inpatient and outpatient settings. And teaching hospitals, they come with a different level. Okay, huge learning curve. I loved every bit of it, but it was definitely challenging, right? Then I was able to shift back to marketing and social work PRN. I was able to shift and really get to pour it more into social workers. We give so much, the helping professional, we give so much. And I really love the idea that I could do that for us. I could see us. I can remind us that it's okay to make mistakes, right? People do care about you. Let's try this again. And then I shifted to more of an administrative role, clinically. Well, let me jump back. Therapy. I miss the clinical piece. Yeah, right. And so I started psychotherapy as well on the side. But then that really showed me that this is probably what I want to do more of. This is more fitting for me. But before I started my private practice, I did jump back into child welfare, back with mothers who were in child welfare about to age out, and really working with them around the skill set that is needed to prevent them from being homeless. That's what the work was, prevent homelessness, right? And then I shifted to academics and really worked with children with disabilities. And then I learned how to see myself through different eyes, right? These students, you have to model the work. You can't just teach it. You have to model it. You have to be it. And I learned how to see myself for who I am. Social work really forces you to kind of look at yourself, do your work. People can't do it. It's a journey. It's very much a journey. But they're working with students who you can see their physical disabilities and some you cannot, and working specifically with their families, and also being a parent and understanding how challenging it is to just love your child so much and really try to shape those behaviors. It just opened my eyes up in a different way, and it really pushed me. So more recently, June, I left a prestigious academic setting for students with disabilities, and I expanded upon my services for my own private practice, just to jump more into the heart of the work, and to really make sure that people know that you can feel better. So progressive journey, that I love, and I'm proud of myself.
You should be. I'm like super impressed at everything you do, and I think that's awesome. I mean, and it's good because you can tell that you truly love what you're doing, because so many other people, it's a job. You know, they read the textbooks, that's what they have to do. And it's a lot more to it, especially in social work. And I love that you're dealing with welfare and parents and, you know, children, because, and I like how you said you have to model it, because it is true. Like my grandson is, you know, autistic, he's nonverbal, but to look at him, you wouldn't know that. So I actually got him for Christmas, don't tell him, but I got him some t-shirts that says, I'm autistic, I'm not spoiled, I'm not a brat, please have patience with me. Because to look at him with peach yelling, screaming, like going someplace on a line, people just look and say, God, and his parents right there, like they don't even know how to you don't know that he has a disability. And trying to teach him, like it was crazy. They put him in a school at one point with normal kids. how are you communicating with him? Because he can't communicate back. Like, it's just, the system is broken, and it's unfortunate. So to have somebody who actually loves what they do, and you've navigated every avenue, you didn't just pick one, you've navigated every avenue. That's awesome. So anybody in Baltimore is lucky to have you. I think that's awesome.
And also, I love the fact that you talked about your grandson, right? Because I remember right before I left, the majority of the children that I worked with were graduating from middle school to go to high school, which is a big deal, big deal, right? And face to face with parents, because we transitioned from COVID back into the setting, and things just look and feel very differently. So the parents aren't flowing through as much as they probably would in the past, right? So I had a mom come up to me specifically because she saw me caring for her son. And I think it's so challenging when you have students or children with disabilities or just different levels of functioning, and you just really want your children to be environments with people who care about them. Right. And it's tough, even with a child that doesn't have specific disabilities. You just really want to know that your child is in an environment with someone who's going to take care, who's going to lead from a place of kindness, who's going to understand that sometimes there's some frustrations here, but we're really trying to shape some behaviors and get the child to understand themselves a little bit differently so they can manage themselves and really live a quality life. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
No, well, it is, like I said, the system's broken because you have to go through, medical to get admitted into this school. So everybody in that school has a disability of some sort, but not all autism. And he was there for 6 months, and they contact my daughter and they're like, we don't know how to tell you this, but we kind of think you should get your son tested for autism. And she's like, yeah. They're like, we think he might be autistic. She's like, he is. That's why he's in your school. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, so for 6 months he's been in your school and you didn't even know his disability. How are you helping him then? Because they're smart. Oh, I know. It's like I said, the system is just broken. But having a teacher who cares, I'm glad that they caught on to it eventually. But I mean, it's just how ridiculous that you could have been helping him all along if you understood. Like, I don't know. But it's just, to have, you don't get that too often where someone actually cares enough to want to get through to you, want to learn to help you. And, everybody, like I said, it's just mostly textbook, check off a box. I did ABC, I did my job, have a nice day. It's not how it should be, So kudos to you. I think you're doing awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, your practice takes a holistic approach to mental health and wellness. So explain what this means and how it differs from, more traditional methods.
Yes, I love how you started the conversation, just speaking about just being more in tune of what the need is and the access and availability of therapeutic supports. So it was important to me to ground our private practice and away from the medical model, right? Not that it's not helpful, but people need to know that there's more than I'm sick, here's some medication to feel better. Right. And I really, and I don't want to X out medication management because it is helpful. Actually, we look, and this is one of your questions as well, but we look to support our client base with seeing themselves clearly so they can be able to make those choices for themselves. Right. And so we work on that. We work on seeing ourselves clearly so we can be able to meet ourselves in the shame and blame. We can develop some tools that may be helpful to us to give us an opportunity to see ourselves and meet ourselves in our current need. And so our holistic approach just meets the person where they are, allows them to kind of embrace the safe environment that is there for them, right? Allows them to a comfort level, and gets them prepared to want to do the work, right? And if they think that if they think that the person closest to them, the subjective party that is closest to them, that is attempting to support them, views them with a negative light or scope, or thinks that they need something immediately to shift whatever's going on, sometimes they disappear. They don't show up for themselves the way that they need to. And so it's really important. Like the first couple of sessions are about rapport building. I'm taking notes. We have some paperwork you did prior to coming in. But before I get into some of the heaviness of it all, I want to make sure you feel safe enough to kind of talk about this
Right.
so we can do the work moving forward to kind of connect those pieces. And then you can check in with yourself to see what you want to do with that. So,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, and because it is true that attitude plays a major role in our own well-being. Like even my mother-in-law, she had breast cancer, and I mean she's good now, but
Mhm.
even going through it, you have some people who are just, they just know I'm like doomed, statistics, I'm gonna die, whatever. And she was like, I remember she was telling the doctor, like, no, 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 tell me where to go because we're getting this done. And he was like,
Yeah.
that's gonna get you better. That attitude of nothing's gonna knock me down. You have to know that you're supported, you're loved, and I'm here on your side. I'm not just here to throw some medicine because that's the medical field we're in nowadays. Just, build them up in medicine and send them on their way. And it doesn't even mean, like, I could go on and on with stories, but, I suffered with terrible migraines for years because that's what the doctors do, just give you some pills. Turns out I never needed them. And it's just a long story, but anyway, it's just that's the world we're living in. So knowing if someone knows that you're on my side, you got my back, and you're here to help me, and you want to help me, and we're going to do it together, that can open them up to so much more. And I mean, it's a rare quality, so that's actually awesome that you're doing that.
We are going to do it together. And just because you said that, I also make it a point to say, I'm going to support you either way, right?
Yeah.
I hear you. I meet you in that. I love visuals. So I'm sitting with you on the bench. Like we're sitting together. Okay, we're virtual or we're in person. I'm not literally sitting next to you.
Right.
I'm sitting next to you because I want to see it from your lens, because I want you to know that it's challenging for people to hear you. When you tell people what's going on with you, they don't feel the weight of what they're going through. And sometimes they miss. And so I want you to hear that I meet you in that, but I also want you to know that I'm going to support you either way. And I'm going to also show you some other perspectives just so you can add to your orbit of thought. Right. So in the future, if you want to do something different, you can, because you can't do anything different with something you can't see.
Yeah. And something people just don't know. It's, so having someone say, well, did you try doing it this way? It'd be like, I actually didn't even think about it, but, maybe that's what works. You never know. And just because, you could read whatever you want on the internet it just doesn't mean that that's the actual way to do it.
Right. Right.
Now, being known as the mindfulness guru, how do you integrate mindfulness into your therapeutic practice, and why do you believe it's effective?
So mindfulness is grounded in everything that we do. Being present with self, working to release some of the things that we've been carrying, learning to accept yourself. Right, we just talked about that. And so I might say it a little differently because language matters to me, and I really want to say it in a way that meets you where you are. But the concepts of mindfulness really support my clients with learning how to self-soothe. Right, learning how to set boundaries, learning how to build skills around effective communication, right, emotion regulation. And so, honestly, we're doing all this work just so we can feel better. So I'm always speaking to you from my heart placement, right? And that's grounded in mindfulness. I want you to be able to slow yourself down, to make a choice, even if it's to do more of what you're doing. It's causing you some level of discomfort later on, and you're stuck with it. The person has left. We're no longer in that environment anymore. And I at least want you to be able to say, okay, if we make this choice, later on, I'm going to feel a little out of it. I might need to put some protective factors in place. We're just learning how to care for ourselves a little better. So mindfulness is grounded in everything. Our groups, monthly groups, our mindfulness and meditation groups. And so I lead with guided meditation. It builds and helps us to manage our somatic health. So I don't see a way to do this work without mindfulness.
No, I mean, it's awesome because most people live in the here and now, and they just want to feel better right now. But you need somebody from the outside who can see it and kind of look at even looking at like the historic, how you feel and how has that worked for you in the past. And, you don't see it yourself. You never see what's going on with you yourself. You need the outside perspective. And, like I said, everybody else is checking off a box and okay, blood pressure was good, blah, 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 they're fine. But you're looking at the bigger picture. And, it's kind of just, again, telling people we're going to do this together because here's what I see. And I always use the term, we could agree to disagree, but let me tell you what I see. Let's see how we can maybe make this a little better, and you're doing that. You're going that extra mile, which I would keep repeating it. That is like such an awesome trait, because it's definitely, you don't hear much of it anymore.
And you know what? I talk to my clients about validation because we have this way of thinking about validation. And I get it, but approach and perspective is big. So you're absolutely going to get validated here.
Yeah.
Okay. And why though? Why is because I want you to be able to see that you are doing the work. Mm-hmm. You started off by saying they're already doing that. Yes, they are already doing that. So I don't want you to think that you're just going to come here and I'm going to tell you all these new things. You are actually already doing this work. Let's celebrate self. Let's highlight that. And when your mind starts to tell you, you have some of those intrusive thoughts in your mind starts to tell you because your mood has shifted.
Right.
When your mood shifts, nothing.
Right.
And so you do nothing. Right. And so, I remember Latoya said someone else see, right. And I'm also in practice of celebrating self along the way so I can praise self and I can see more of this behavior because we're spending a lot of time in the dark, right? I don't like feelings connected to it. I usually use like the darkness is very deep and it's never ending. And so we can stay there, right? But allowing ourselves to see ourselves just a little bit differently gives us more of a choice. So yes.
Right. And even highlighting the pros, because again, you're going through motion every day. And, sometimes it's nice when someone says, did you realize that you just did that? It's like, that was awesome. Yeah.
I'm celebrating you.
Exactly.
I am so proud of you.
That could be like, turn somebody a whole 180. You're like, oh my God, I never even realized that. Look, and now I feel good,
Are doing the work. We all are. It just feels like we're not. Because life is tough.
No, yeah, it is. Now tell me, develop an innovative approach called natural joy. So tell us a little bit about this method and how it helps in self-care.
Yes, so natural joy, when I think about natural joy, again, I'm visual. So when I put my hand out, right, hand straight out, flat out, and extend my arm, right, joy is in reach. Right. And if I embrace it with a pure heart, you can't see my hands, but hand over heart, we do hand placements. It helps us to self-soothe. It helps us to connect with self. It helps to slow us down and it gives us permission for choice. Right. I can embrace what is going well. There's always something going well. Mm-hmm. And the way a lot of our brains are set up is that we just talked about this, is that we spend a lot more time in the areas of the things that aren't going well, or all the things that we need to problem solve and strategize, or, that are frustrating for us. And that's okay, but let's also allow ourselves to be present in the range of emotions and recognize that things are also going well, right? I put gas in my car last night. And I didn't have to stop, and it was snowing this morning, and I am
so little things,
being present in it and allowing ourselves to be present in there is always something going well, and I don't have to stay stuck in the darkness, right, and act as if there's nothing else going well in life. And I don't allow myself to embrace joy because I'm having a tough time with being able to see the range of my life, the wholeness, the fullness of who I am and my life. So we also introduced the concept of natural joy, joy. Right. And that's the idea that we are more in tune with self. We're building our own insight and awareness of self. Self-care works. All of this is just self-care. But self-care for me, when it was introduced for me, I had a hard time really implementing it in a life-changing, innovative way. And so that's why language is so big. I mean, you can change the language to whatever works for you, but natural joy really pushed a new level of motivation and encouraged more self-awareness, right? I'm in tune with the things that work for me. This is just an example of how your list should be supported and connected to you. I like climbing trees.
Yeah.
Right. I like going, I'm getting back into running. I'm getting, my list, anything that I can connect with that doesn't take me a lot of effort,
Mhm.
that can help shift my mood,
Right.
right? Where I can connect with self and give myself permission to gently shift back to whatever the day has for me, whatever else the day has for me. So I'm allowing myself to build a running list.
Right.
Things are going to fall off. Things are going to be added. I'm more in tune with myself. I'm allowing myself to connect with the things that bring me joy. A television show, anything. I had a client who was really into astronomy. So we added a app on her phone so she can take some time when she's at school and she's feeling really anxious to
Right.
just connect with the galaxy.
Yeah.
I would never add that to my phone. I don't.
Yeah.
That's something I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but you can find ways because, like, even with me, like, I live in a city. I'm not in a country. I love
Yes.
sunset, sunrise, sunset. I love nature. I belong to a lot of photography groups online, and every day I'm looking at just the beauty. Because I'm telling you, the world kind of is not very nice sometimes, but there's such beauty in it. It's just the little things that you can just make your mood go from 0 to hero in a heartbeat.
Yes. Yes. And give yourself permission to set some boundaries for self.
Right. And it's hard, like when you say people don't always notice, because if you're like depressed or whatnot, it's hard to see joy in anything, especially yourself, and if you have somebody else, because I know somebody's like that, they're just negative 24/7, always miserable, always. And it's like, you could think on one hand, just simple, quick thing on what you could be grateful and happy for, but if you're not, it's like, it's kind of like a trickle effect. It's, some people need to get shaken and say, okay, do you not see this? This is awesome,
And that's why it's a running list, and I encourage my clients to write it down because sometimes you can't think when your mood shifts.
Yeah.
You can't think clearly, and so if you can access a list that you have created for yourself, is it your phone or is it your notepad on your desk or something? You look at, okay, I'm going to allow myself to eat some ice cream.
Right.
I'm definitely going to allow myself to go out with a family for a little bit because I just need to feel love, right? And whatever that is, I come up with a plan for myself. So I won't have to think too hard and I can my mood can shift gently. And now I can shift back to the things that I have to do today, my to-do list.
Yeah, I mean, they have apps for everything now. If you're sitting down all day, it'll remind you, okay, you've been sitting for 3 hours, get up and walk around for 15 minutes. Set an alarm for yourself, every hour or so. Just take a minute and reflect on something. Somebody told me one time every morning, jot down 5 things you're grateful for today. Just something simple. That you're like, okay, I'm grateful the sun is out, just silly little things. And it could really change somebody's, day. So again, you're pointing it out.
Let's go there. You said the sun, right? So mindfulness, being present with self, body scan, right? Mm-hmm. How did I feel when I went outside? Yes, the sun is out because sometimes we say, oh, I'm just going to go outside and get some sun. But when the sun met your face, it kissed it. It gave you a hug. You smiled immediately when you walked out of the door. It's allowing ourselves an opportunity to be present with self and how our body responds because our body is always communicating to us, right? And if we've normalized it, a lot of times we're not paying attention.
It is true. We get so caught up in emotion that we don't pay attention to so much. Like they always say, your gut, it will never tell you wrong. And so many times it's like, hey, I don't have time. It's just, this is what I have to do. And
right.
Yeah. Listen.
Well, hand over heart, right?
Yes.
Hand over heart. I have to practice this. No one knows what you're doing when you place your hand over the heart. Just slow yourself down and give yourself permission to check.
But it's true when you say with like the sensation, because even from babies, you don't have to say a word, just put your hand on them and they know you're there. It could calm a baby instantly. And just, this from the minute you're born. It's just, we forget, like I always see people give myself a hug. It's like, I actually feel okay right now. Like, I feel like, they have blankets that make you feel like you're giving yourself a hug. Why? Who thought of this? Somebody who realized this works.
A blanket.
Yeah. Okay, now tell us from your experience, what are some of the most significant benefits of mindfulness on mental health and wellness?
it helps you to slow yourself down and be in the present moment, right? And so we talked about how we think we're being in the present moment and we give ourselves permission to do the thing. Maybe go outside. Maybe I went for a walk. But maybe I need to push myself a little bit. Maybe I do a scavenger hunt this time. I give myself, yes, pick up a rock and I feel it, right? You allow yourself to really be present with your environment. Right? So it teaches us that we can approach life in an innovative way that might switch it up for a bit. It might switch it up a bit. It allows you to reinvent yourself too. You're not the same person you were 20 years ago. You're not, right? And so if you're not, well, we're still functioning like we are. So it encourages us to be more present with ourselves and to switch some things up if we need to. And most of which, you don't have to be like me and like change, your complete self, but you may just want to do some things so you're not feeling, spending so much time judging yourself and others.
Right. Yeah, get out of the road. Like I remember reading someone, people say they go outside and someone else says, did you go outside like in the backyard or whatever, with your socks and shoes off? And I'm like, never thought about that. Why? And they're like, because now you're basically touching toe to toe with nature. And I'm like, interesting. So now I'm like, well, take this. I just want to try it, and I'm like, now I'm thinking something totally different. Not that I'm doing that every day, but it's something different. And even like we have a bike path here. So, you're going through nature the whole bit, but you're so focused on don't hit anybody along the way to have the right direction. But they have like a little lead. Yeah. Yes. And I remember one time I was like, you know what? Stop. And I see the fish and the thing and the leaves blowing in the wind. And it was kind of like for a quick minute, I was like, yeah, I would have missed all this. You have to almost put it on the schedule. Take 10 minutes and just stop and breathe,
Minutes to stop and breathe. I love that. Sometimes when in the hotter months, in the warmer months, summer months, we have our mindfulness group outside. And I walk around outside with my socks or no shoes on. Grounding while I am leading the class, but absolutely it's modeling how to connect and be connected with our senses, and the world moves very fast, so it's okay if you want to take a moment for yourself, that 10 minutes to stop and breathe. Our breath has power.
Yeah, you have to basically be open to trying something new, because some people are like, I always did it this way. Time for change.
We were just talking about this flexible thinking. A lot of us have a rigid thought processes. And when you see it the most, I didn't notice it the most until I worked with students with disabilities and autism.
Repetition.
Oh, rigid thinking really can prevent you from growing into the person that you're supposed to be, because you're functioning at a wavelength that you picked up along the way that might not even work for you anymore.
Right. And someone else now who can tell them, let's try something new,
I know it's tough though.
Yeah. But I mean, if you connect with them and they're willing to try, it could be a big difference, but you won't know until you try.
So hearing those alternative thought processes, allows you to start thinking about things just a little bit more flexibly, to give yourself a choice on how you want to maneuver through your life.
And even for anybody, just knowing that you have a choice. Like I was raised in Catholic school and strict parents, you do what you're told. Now you're telling me I have a choice. I could think however I want. I could do however, like, this is awesome. That's like opening me out of a shell, and I'm sure that's a lot of people.
Yes, that is. And you find it. I think we pay attention to it more with children. My daughter just turned 12, right? She's in middle school, and that's the middle school.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, bless you.
Middle school, and so we're learning to think flexibly, right? And put that into practice, and know that if I make certain choices and decisions, certain things are going to happen. So I do have choice, and just know that if I make this choice, this is going to happen. If I make this choice, this may happen. So allowing myself more of a range of emotions and checking in with self, so I can figure out what works best for me. So I'm not so upset with everyone else when I made a choice for myself.
Right. And if it was the wrong choice, now you learned something, wasn't that?
You learned something. Right. That's the other part of natural joy. You allow yourself permission to make mistakes. Right. We are not striving for perfection. Right. We are striving for active practice. Right. And so with active practice, I absolutely know that I'm going to make some mistakes, right? But I absolutely know that I am going to get better. And so when I tell myself, you know, you're going to make some mistakes, right? When a mistake comes, I won't allow myself to live in the darkness of shame and blame so much because I'm so concerned about what others are thinking about me, but really what I'm saying to myself about who I am. I'm connecting the who I am to that mistake. Oh, we made a mistake. Do we want to do something different next time? Okay, I'll try this next time, right? I'll be more present and aware. I'll prepare myself a little differently. It gives you more of an option to continue to grow.
Right. And think about how many other people might have made that same exact mistake. And now you don't have to feel so bad because I'm human and I made the same mistake. And other people are probably like, oh my God, me too. You know, so now you're building each other up.
I love me too moments. I was at a networking event a little bit ago and a woman came up and was like, oh, I talked to one person. I was like, oh, because I struggle with that as well. Right. Someone else came here with the goal that they want to talk to more than one person. We can meet in that, right? We all have struggles that it's really tough to put ourselves in certain environments. But when you put yourself there, you definitely need to celebrate yourself, right? Affirm yourself. Celebrate yourself because the things that you're doing are very challenging and others don't know how challenging it was, but you do. So let's pay attention to that and let's highlight that.
Yes, amen. Now, in your practice, what are some of the common challenges your clients face, and how does holistic approach help address these?
Yeah, so a lot of my clients struggle with interpersonal deficits. They struggle with self-esteem, move-related concerns, or just wanting to learn how to navigate themselves in the world a little bit differently. And so we check in, right? We check in with what is helpful to me right now. Right? What am I doing? What am I in active practice with right now? Is that working for you? Let's be honest. Is it working for you? If not, and we don't have to come up with our answers right away. That's what I'm really big on. Let's not force ourselves or push ourselves into making a decision or choice or ideal that we're not even sure of yet. Let's allow ourselves some room. Is this working for me? And if so, how can we approach this in a way that is helpful? And so when we're working with interpersonal deficits, meaning I don't really like how I'm engaging in the relationships with the world around me, my environment. A lot of times you're engaging with yourself the same way. We're not even recognizing that if I do something slightly different than, which is usually a boundary for self, that's what boundaries are for, then I can teach other people that I am not okay with that. And I won't continue to rest in that something's wrong with me because they didn't change. Right? Or if we're talking about mood-related concerns, what happens to that encourages my mood to shift? Is there anything in my environment, or is there something that I'm doing that my mood is fluctuating so often? Let's pay attention to what's going on. So maybe we can come up with a plan. I had a client who was we were talking about the holiday, and when the holiday comes, they find themselves feeling a lot more in self-doubt, self-shame, and their responses are a little bit more considered as outbursts, right? And so, well, what can we do? And then they're stuck in the room later on and they're kind of having perseverative language and they're also kind of pacing. Okay, good. I'm glad. That's great. You know that? Wow, good. Right? So maybe if we know this, maybe we come up with a plan to take care of self during the holiday. Let's come up with a plan. And this doesn't mean that you have to use this plan, but this just means that there's been more holidays than not that I've had this thing happen and I don't like it. And so let's try to put these things in place after we had a conversation. So it just allows us to walk up to things and say hello and put a plan in place to care for self. We may not need it, but we may need it, right? And it actually helps us to feel better, helps us to manage ourselves a little bit better. And it also allows you to celebrate self along the way.
Probably helps them too not to have so much anxiety when the holidays are approaching, because now they're like, all right, I got this.
All right, I got this. Yes.
Yeah. And it's crazy because there's so many people nowadays, like you see it on social media a lot all the time, where, there's a lot of people. I always use the term agree to disagree. I don't hate you for what you agree, I just don't agree with it, but whatever, vice versa. But so many people, if you don't do what I do or believe what I believe or whatever, I'm the enemy, I'm Satan, I'm this, it's like,
Yes.
So people are just, it's so crazy, this world. You have to know that I firmly believe what I believe, and that's okay that you don't, and we'll just agree to disagree. We could still be friends, but it's just a crazy world nowadays. So giving people permission to do their thing, know that it's okay, and know that how to approach people who are going to be like that. You just know that you're okay. Hand on the heart, I got this.
Yes, and to add to that, because that was powerful, to add to that, one of my clients said something to me, I think it was last week or the week before. She said, someone came up to me and said that I make them feel at peace when we're in connection, when we're in, the same environment. And then she said, but they don't make me feel peace. They make me feel very chaotic inside. And it makes
It's almost giving her obligations,
Yes. And so back to the feeling of it all, right? What can I do? Maybe I set a boundary and I'm not in that environment with that person as long.
Right.
Right. Maybe I need to look at things and I can move things around. And I'm so proud of myself that I recognize that I bring peace to other people, but the people who are bringing me and making me feel this level of conflictual, internal stressors inside, let me ask myself what I want to do a little bit differently, because I don't like that. Everywhere I go, I bring peace, but people think that they can be mean to me, judgmental, push me down, they're trying to break me. Did not want to pay attention. And I'm saying, oh, you look beautiful. I love those glasses, girl. I'm coming with that energy, and you're coming with, that's not nice. Mm-hmm. And so instead of me trying to tear you down, I'm just going to set some stronger boundaries for myself, because I don't like that. And I need people to understand that you don't treat me like that. Mm-hmm. I don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, given somebody, basically the obligation, now I have to feel like I have to be bubbly and everything. I'm entitled to have a bad day too, but I have to make you feel good because you're basically telling me that's my role in your life.
Oh, that's your stuff. That's not mine. I'm going to show up how I show up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad I make you feel good, right? But that's yours. Yeah. Maybe that's probably telling you that you need to get some more people in your environment that make you feel.
Now tell us, what advice would you give to new practitioners in the field of mental and health and wellness, especially those interested in integrating mindfulness into their work?
I would tell them to be gentle with themselves, right? We're all students. Even when you're a teacher, you're a student. And so modeling is huge. So get familiar with how you feel and how the tools help you, so you can really teach. It's really challenging to teach things that you don't know. Yeah. And I think that's tough to hear for new professionals, because we all kind of struggle with, am I good enough language at times, right? So just allowing yourself to be more in the flow and trust what you know, trust what you learned, continue to connect with a mentor or a supervisor, right? Allow yourself to build and grow, and be okay if you don't know. Yeah. Oh, I'll find that out. Oh, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Let's find that out together. Not feeling the need to act as if you know everything, because you don't. All students.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you intern on so many different levels is huge too, because like I always say, a textbook can only get you so far, but you learn majority through experience, and not everybody's the same. I'm sure you've encountered plenty of people that, like, you always just say, you're challenging me, you're making me work for it now. Everybody's different. And,
yes.
Asking, there was once upon a time where it was almost like, I can't act like I don't know what I'm doing because I'm supposed to know it all. Now It's kind of like, I have times are changing, everything's evolving. It's kind of like, I'm not afraid to say, I am completely lost. Show me what to do. I'll even go down a couple pegs. Show me, because I want to learn. You have to, because at the end of the day, you want to help people. You have to be, I don't want to say you have to be your best, but it's okay to not be your best, and learning how to become your best together,
It's a strength. That's a strength. So being able to be present in your strengths and areas of need, right, and areas of shaping, right, but mindfulness specifically, just getting more familiar with the principles, right, allowing yourself to be present and the flow of it, because it's not a rigid process at all. And you definitely have to meet yourself where you are in order to meet others where they are. So friends of mine have been encouraging me to have some more classes. I have classes for the community for student groups, but not professional. So I am thinking about that. So
you could even do professionals in groups. I mean, I know a lot of companies, especially where suicide rates are really high, part of HR is to basically have someone in talk to everybody in a group to let them know signs to look for and that it's okay and I'm here. So people won't openly come out and say it, but if you're talking to groups, so yeah, you could totally hook up with businesses and do groups.
Absolutely. So we are on that trajectory currently. A lot of our client base are clinicians, but we're talking about two separate groups. One is for learning how to manage self, and the other would be for how do you lead your own mindfulness group. Absolutely.
Nice. Very nice. And tell me, your client motto is committed to wellness. So how do you foster this commitment in your clients? And what role does mindfulness play in it?
Buy-in. Acceptance commitment therapy is one of the modalities that we use as well. And I start off even at our 15-minute consultation. Fit is super important. And this is funny. One of my recent clients who just started with me, her doctor sent her to me, and she wanted to make me aware that she was referred and she did not want to be here. And someone else thought that she needed this support to get a specific surgery and all the things, right? So I let that go. And of course, I sprinkle in that ACT is something that a modality that we use. But our last session, since we've built rapport, we're 3 sessions in, right? I usually don't take clients who don't have buy-in, but I'm extremely proud of you. I know that you were referred here and you've been doing the work, and I think you should let your doctor know. I know there's a level of discomfort and a lack of understanding about why your doctor took this approach, and I understand that you guys have a relationship. But I think, I just want to encourage you to lead that conversation next time with what you have learned and what you've been in active practice with, because you have grown. You do feel better. You do understand. And you might not understand his way of thinking, but it sounds like to me that he cares about you and he wants you to feel better and he wants you to be able to adapt some other tools, and you have. So feel free to share with him that you do have some buy-in, that you are doing the work, and you have been showing up.
That's awesome. I mean, it is true because, like I said, a lot of people, you don't see it yourself, but someone on the outside does. But giving her that power to be like, you've done this on your own, so, and letting her know that, because I know somebody else who, like say postpartum and all things like that, you don't see it yourself, but sometimes, people do, and they don't ever want to admit anything because I'm supposed to be super mom, but knowing that someone else sees it, they care about you, and if you've done it, how cool is that you've done this on your own, and it's everybody's happy to the end,
Yes, we see you, we hear you, we feel you. Yes. Nice. Yes. So mindfulness is ingrained in all of that, through that language.
Now, for our listeners, can you share some simple yet effective mindfulness techniques that can be incorporated into everyday life?
Yes, those which we've already talked about, but I just want to re-emphasize it. So hand over heart, hand placements is what I'll teach you that right away. Because I want us to learn some self-soothing strategies. I want you to be able to slow yourself down. I want you to be able to be more in tune with yourself and give yourself permission to step away if you need to, or effectively communicate when you need to. So hand over heart means one hand over your heart, or 2 hands over your heart, or you modeled the gentle hug earlier. So whichever one makes more sense for you or is more effective. So I encourage my clients to practice which one is more helpful for them. I do more strongly encourage the hand over heart, because no one, when you're in community, when you're outside your house or you're somewhere else where you may not feel comfortable, right? No one else knows what you're doing.
You can be scratching yourself for
right.
It's cold. So hot,
and you're covering up, and so it gives you a way of caring for self that no one else is aware of what you're doing for self, so you don't feel you can take away some of the shame that's disconnected, the judgment. The other way would be mindful breathing, right? In our sessions, thumb to finger, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Thumb to finger, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And we'll explore all of our fingers. We'll explore all of our fingers, and we can do it as long as we need to. But it brings us into the present moment. Sometimes breathing techniques and breath work is very challenging for people who aren't in practice with it, or just getting connected with it because they don't see it as helpful. Well, your breath is with you all day. It's powerful, right? You don't actually need to extend your breath. That's really what it's doing, but it's helpful if you want to try it because it slows you down and it gives you permission to ground. It gives you permission to clear your thoughts. It gives you permission to think a little bit clearly and gives you permission to show up for self in a unique, powerful way. Right? So thumb to finger, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And you just extend it to each finger, right? And allow yourself to stay present in it as long as you need to, right? But really recognize how it brings you back into the present moment because our minds start to shift. And that's okay, right? But we're just reminding self that I have tools that are helpful to me, that are always with me, right? That I can access at any time, and through practice, I will continue to get better with implementing them, right? That will allow me to show up for self in an innovative way.
It's funny because well, not funny, but I had went through, PTSD from something bad. And I remember I was going to a hypnotist at one time, and she was saying how your mind just kind of goes off on its own. So when you're trying to go to sleep, you don't realize it. It's already, and she had me doing that because it brings you right back. Like, okay, I'm here. Everything's good. I'm safe. And it did work,
Work.
Yeah, Now, based on your experience and trends that you see, what do you think is the future of mental health care, especially regarding mindfulness and holistic practices?
I think it's going to continue to get more and more accessible. I think in families, it's not going to be something that we shy away from.
Right.
I think that it will allow ourselves to hold ourselves accountable so we can then in turn hold others accountable. So I see it as a progressive journey as well. We shifted to more of a virtual hybrid communication, which also allows mindfulness and therapeutic supports to be more accessible, right? So I see growth. I see development. I see a way of connecting with more people. I see it bringing people together. Honestly. That's what I see.
Yeah, I'm glad about the remote thing because, like, at least I could tell you in my neck of the woods, doctors, they just, again, script, nobody cares. They don't, so knowing that there are great people out there, you don't have to physically be living there to see them.
Yes.
And so many people too are like embarrassed. They don't want to go, but this takes a little bit of that away. So it opens it up to a lot more. So, and now that people are being a lot more open about this stuff, I think it is going to start changing for the better. The world needs it. We know that.
Absolutely. I have clients who will not come to a group session, in-person group session, but they'll show up for session. They'll show up for a virtual session, and I'll encourage it. I'm like, I don't know, so
they'll get there.
Right. Proud of them for accessing supports when they. Right. So
it takes a while for people, and again, sometimes it's just knowing that, oh my God, we're all feeling the same thing. Now I don't feel like it's just me,
And if I could just add as well, we have I mentioned somatic health. We have a sound healing approach as well in our groups, and I do it in my individual sessions as well, where I have my sound bowl that I use, but I also have music that is powerful, and so sensory. Again, is huge. Sensory, we're really big on sensory and being connected to our senses because they drive us and help fuel us, and they communicate us to us in very unique ways and messages that we should pay attention to.
Awesome. Anything else you want to talk about or add that you have going on or what you're doing?
Oh, absolutely. So we have expanded our services. So we do have more availability for, of course, individual couples and family sessions. Again, we'll continue to have our therapeutic groups monthly. I believe our next therapeutic group is on the 12th. I have to double check that, or maybe 13th, I think is the Saturday. So absolutely, if you're looking to connect in a unique way, we invite the community as well as our client base. You can feel free to connect with us via our website, www.thisgoesouttoyou.org, or on Instagram, thisgoesouttoyou_ or email admin@thisgoesouttoyou.net.
Awesome. Well, you have such great stuff. I mean, how do you want people to get a hold of you?
Thank you. Feel free to join us on Instagram. Look at what we have going on. We are teaching a lot more because that's what we do very naturally, very naturally. So we're teaching a lot more. But if you have any questions about what we're doing and want to find creative ways to connect, feel free to email. We'll answer any questions.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again for being on the show. Again, that was Latoya Stewart. So thanks for listening to Successful Minds with Patty B. Never miss an episode by subscribing. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Successful Minds with your host, Patricia Barnowski-Schneider. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we'll see you on the next episode.